Take a look at this insane Catalyst play from the #1 Catalyst.
Oh, bro, come on, Catalyst OP, bro.
Now you're probably asking, why am I starting this series? Well, I've seen many episodes from the community such as Sweatband, who is essentially retiring it for the time being. As someone who started another franchise who was a #1 sniper in Battlefield, it's something I understand and want to learn more about again, and get involved in the community. We'll see how this first episode goes, and we'll plan to do it maybe perhaps once a month. Today we're going to be meeting with Soar Illspooky, who is a team member of mine who we recruited because he's been #1 on multiple Legends before. Illspooky has been very kind of being our first person here on the series. He's an absolute legend and taught me a ton about the community, so please, huge shout out to Illspooky. All his links are in the description down below. If you're interested in the series and want to be a part, or someone who's even grinding close to #1, let's make it happen. Send me an email and let's see if we can get you a part of the series. Now let's go into the interview that we had with Illspooky. Let's learn a lot together. Let's learn about the community. Let's see what's going on. Let's talk about the #1 Catalyst, Illspooky. Illspooky, I just want to thank you so much for hopping in, for being my first person for the #1 grinding series I'm going to be doing here for #1 for various legends. Illspooky, just for transparency, is in Soar, and we literally picked him up because he always kill grinds for #1. He's always hitting #1, and he's an absolute legend for it. So if you guys haven't, I know I already shouted him out, but you got to check out his streams and everything. So I'm going to start off with a list of questions, and we're going to keep this as an open flow conversation as well. Might cut here and there, but I'm going to do my best just to keep it free flowing. But I want to ask you the first question of, what does it mean to be #1 for you? What does that mean?
To be #1 means you have to have the most amount of kills on a specific legend. You aren't necessarily the best player in the world, but you realistically will have the most experience on that character and understanding on how to fully utilize them. Kill grinders use a website called Apex Tracker, so that's how we kind of see the leaderboard.
That's awesome. I'll have that in the description as well, the Apex trackers, just in case people who are new to my channel who may not know about that, who can definitely check it out and learn more about what it means to have the #1 amount of kills. Because yeah, it's true, there is a lot of different categories. You could say #1 based on skill, personality, based on rank, based on ALGS. There's a lot. And so that's my next question, because when we say all legends, why Catalyst?
I was tired of facing cheers in ranked and got bored of the same old rewards, so that's partly the reason why I decided to grind Catalyst. But what's made me stick with this legend is the insane outplay potential she holds. It's such a unique play style, and I really fell in love with it.
That's awesome. I love it. I mean, you know, you were #1 crypto before. So what made you stop crypto and then go to Catalyst? I know that's an additional question there, but I'm actually curious myself.
So I loved crypto because not many people played him. So my audience that I had on Twitch, on YouTube, they like to see crypto as he's, you know, not many people are playing him, and I had so many kills, I had so many hours on him. I was #1 on him for 400 plus days, but I stopped playing him because after all that time I felt like I hit my peak almost on console, and I saw all these PC gamers, and I wanted to make the move, so I got a PC and switched. And at that point I was no longer #1 crypto. I was going to lose it after switching, so I decided to try out different things. So it was more of like a venture onto new things, you know?
I love it. And let's go back to what you said about how, like, you know, Catalyst is good. I feel like Catalyst as well as a sleeper with the outplay potential. So I'm going to ask you, because of the door plays and everything, how good realistically is Catalyst? Do you think that it can make a play in ALGS? Do you think that it's a legend very much like Seer? You know how when Seer came out, everyone kind of slept on Seer? Is Catalyst that type of legend?
Yeah, I think she is. I think she's like the best legend in the game if played right. You know, Bloodhound, anyone can play Bloodhound right. Bloodhound is really easy, fun to play. You pick Bloodhound up for the first time and you're gonna fry no matter what. There's a few legends that are similar to kind of Bloodhound, but with Catalyst, I definitely think there's a understanding of how she plays to really play with her well. So I'd argue, yeah, one of the best legends in the game if played right. Probably the best defense legend in the game, in my opinion.
That's a big topic, considering I play Watson as my main as well. So fighting the defensive legends there. So how difficult is it to grind for #1? Do you feel like it's difficult to schedule in terms of like the number of hours, in your opinion?
It was easier when I was first growing because it was my main priority. But then with like sponsorships and stuff, and family. If there's issues with family, or you got an event, or you get sick or something, it gets a little bit hard. But it is, yeah, I suppose it's difficult to grind for number one, but it's worth it. It's your passion. You grow heavily from it. You don't get much sleep, probably 4 hours for the first like 2 weeks of the season releasing. Then you up it slightly and slightly to maybe 6. You got, I meal prep before the season comes out. I get all this stuff done. You eat well. You gotta make sure you exercise, stand up, stretch, drink loads of water, not too much caffeine. You gotta look after yourself because it's draining on your mental and obviously your body after a while as well. So you just gotta look after yourself.
You literally were already answering the next question, which was like tips for kill grinding, which is more focused on your body, your mind, your mental, like you're saying. What would you say in game would be your tips in general as what would you say is the biggest skill set that matters most? I mean, obviously you want to get eliminations, but what would you work on? Is it movement? Is it aim? What are your thoughts on that?
Since Catalyst isn't a movement legend, you have to rely heavily on your brain. Especially for me, as I play solo on no fill, so I don't even have I do this on purpose. I enjoy it, but I don't have randoms that I can use as bait or like ping me weapons or anything. So I always land. I try to always land around doors straight away, because I like to play around with them. So maybe I'll pick up a weapon, pick up 2 weapons, and I'll lock up those doors. I'll throw my tactical down. I'll play around it. That obviously makes picking up kills a lot easier. It's playing around my abilities instead of just like spraying and praying, running straight at people and hoping you'd beat them in a 1v1 kind of deal. Another tip for kill grinding eliminations would be readying up straight away. You don't want to be procrastinating. You want to get out of the game straight into a next one.
So let's say when you say that, if a lobby is slow, do you leave that round and do those eliminations count? Or do you play out the round to the very end to try to get more eliminations? Let's say because sometimes it happens where the whole lobby gets eliminated in the first minute or 5 minutes.
Yeah,
and then it's like, what do you do in that scenario?
So if there's, I don't know, like 5 teams left or 7 teams left and it's still round 1, the circle's huge.
Yeah.
I'm going to be spending the next 8 minutes looking for people. I can't hear any gunshots. I'm not around anyone anymore. I would definitely leave the game. I don't feel like I'm ruining anyone's experience by doing that because, like I said, I play with no teammates at all. I'm completely solo. So I don't feel like I'm ruining anyone's experience and my kills will still count. So at that point, it is better and more time efficient to leave the game for the grind and go into the next game and hoping, it's more chaotic and, pop off. So yeah, definitely leaving the game, kills still count. So just smarter, more efficient.
So for the next topic, this one's going to be the elephant in the room and understanding, I guess, more or less a drama of number one. And with this series, I understand that this is very difficult because even whenever I was fighting for number one on, let's say, Battlefield for number one sniper, what that entails and what it means. And so I want to ask you the question about that drama because it's going to be very polarizing, the thoughts. And my own personal opinion, because whenever I used to do for, let's say, kill elimination, kill grinding back in the day, is like, let's say being fed eliminations is definitely frowned upon. I frowned upon it whenever I was doing it because I remember in Battlefield, it was very, I guess you could say, frustrating to deal with, let's say, because like you're trying to do it the most legitimate way and you want to be recognized for the skill that you have, and you have somebody going into easier servers or doing it illegitimate ways, which isn't necessarily fair. And when we're looking at number one, people don't necessarily understand what it means to be number one or how they obtained number one and what goes into that. At the end of the day, all they see is a leaderboard. So I know I kind of said my piece there, my stance, and I'm sure like at the end of the day, like everyone's gonna have comments, which is why I'm not trying to get involved with the drama, but at the same time, I really enjoy what it means to be number one in a category, and I respect it because I think it's what motivates all of us, right? Yep. So I pass it to you and ask you the question of what your thoughts on all of that really is, and as much detail, as much thoughts as I guess I provided as you want to give.
First, you got to understand that kill grinding isn't new. It started 3 years ago with Daltouche, Shiv, and many other content creators that grinded for these number one titles on specific legends to help get their name out there or boost their following. These day one grinders solidified simple moral ground rules, and for seasons onwards, number one chasers followed them to keep the competitive integrity. When ranked came out, the number one character grinds did die down a lot, but it still has a healthy audience. I've personally held 3 number one titles on characters and been the number one arena pred in my time of playing Apex, but it's been very on and off for me due to some medical and mental stuff I had going on. But for the past 3 months, I've been locked in and I started getting serious about content creation. Yeah, but unfortunately this grind has been astronomically different to all the other grinds I've ever been a part of. So after the first week, myself and other well-known grinders were getting smoked in eliminations by this guy called Forget That. I didn't know who he was yet, but honestly I was impressed by him. I dropped him a follow on Twitter, Twitch, and began gassing him up in my streams whenever his name popped up in question. I genuinely thought he was a prodigy or something, but around the 2-week mark of the season being out, the leaderboards just looked ridiculous, bro, because of how fast he was gaining kills compared to everyone else who were putting in the same amount of hours or more. So I dedicated some time that I should have been grinding out kills into doing some research on him. First I checked YouTube videos of him and socials, but couldn't see anything weird at all until I saw his live gameplay, where it was a whole nother story. He was being hard kill fed, and for those who don't know what that means, I'll explain it a little. He's almost always in sweaty 3 stacks, teammates comment like it's ranked for him, dropping their best heals, loot and armor for him to be bait and use their abilities to best benefit him, but mainly it's when the teammates have no other job than to get the enemies low for him so he can pick them off effortlessly. This obviously is going to help you get an unbelievable amount of high kill gains, but also make you able to grind for even more extreme lengths of time without getting nearly as worn out. This completely ruins the point of the number one race and the number one titles on characters. At this point, you're cheating your competition and throwing away all that competitive integrity and moral grounds that the day one grinders set and everyone's been following. I'm not saying you have to play solo, play with whoever you want, that's cool, but there's a big difference between grinding while playing with friends and getting kill fed. Just to clarify, I'm not hurt or anything like that because I'm not number one. I'm not even number one on PC at the current time we're recording this video, as I took time off to see family for Christmas. The reason I'm being so vocal about this is because this isn't just a silly little title. For many of us, this is our job, so of course I'm not gonna just sit back and let someone walk all over us. There's a PlayStation player called Firelex, and he is the true number one catalyst all platforms. He has a very small following on Twitch, and this grind could have potentially kickstarted his career as a content creator. But he isn't getting the attention he deserves because Forget That is being kill fed. Forget That has been number one 2 prior times on Seer and Vantage, and from what I can tell and heard, he's been cheating his competition for a very long time. That means 2 people were the real number ones on those legends, and they didn't get the exposure they deserved. Sweatband is known for covering videos on number one players, and it's not his fault at all, but he's promoted Forget That an avid kill grinding cheat in a total of 4 videos racking in over 1 million views. These videos have validated his way of grinding by getting kill fed because Forget That is being shown in a positive light from a big YouTuber, and therefore a lot of the casual community won't see anything wrong with about kill feeding in a kill race. I feel sorry for the players that missed the opportunity to kickstart their streaming career from a Sweatband video. 2 years ago, Staycation made a number one video about me that got like 200k views, and it literally skyrocketed my following on Twitch and other platforms. Without that shout out video featuring me, I don't think I'd necessarily be where I am today. So like with that said, yes, I do believe Forget That robbed the real number one players in his grinds from potentially having their dream job in this gaming industry. I suppose the real question is, does he know what he's doing? Like, does he know what he's doing is messed up? I firmly believe so. Like, if you were in his shoes, how couldn't you? He blocked me on Twitter for calling it out, and I assume he's had many others like bring it up to him as well. No one with a platform wants to announce it other than me on Twitter and Twitch, and now you guys in this video. By being number one, you skyrocket your following, make money, sponsorship offers, org sign-ins, and more. It's nowhere near as much recognition as a number one pred grind or winning ALGs, but like I said earlier, there is still an audience for these races, and a big portion of this audience is going to not understand how scuffed this situation is, especially when big YouTubers praise them on their grind and push YouTube videos of them, which definitely would validate this way of grinding in many players' eyes. A really simple example is watching the final of the 100-meter Olympics. Allowing someone to start 20 feet ahead of everyone else surely should be commented on rather than ignoring it. Or another way to put it in Apex terms that we're more familiar with is being boosted or using or switching to Sao Paulo lobbies to rank up faster. Don't you think that's wrong? How can you justify what he's doing? I can't.
And because he blocked you, like let's ask a question down below. Let's pose it to the community. What are your thoughts on this? I know I've given my stance on it. I know Spooky's given his stance, but I really want to hear from the community what they really think about that situation, especially now being more educated on what it means to fight for number one and what it can do. I'll be honest as well, whenever I was on Twitch and fighting for number one sniper, it definitely helped propel at least a jumpstart for what I was doing as well. So that's why this topic hits really close and personal for me and what it means. But it's tricky because not a lot of, let's say, casual players really understand it and really understand the passion and fun behind it as well. So, and I also pose it because you mentioned that he blocked you on social media, that if we want to have a conversation and hop into a call and make a video kind of breaking down what this means, I'm sure you'd be up for the conversation, right? Let's pose the video and say what, and like title the video, what does it mean to be number one? Because maybe the argument that he may have is like by any means necessary, right? Which I don't necessarily agree with, because like if you're, let's say you're doing 5v5s or something, you say any means necessary, then of course, like, what does that mean? Aimbotting, cheating, you know, like what does that mean? Like where's the line? Where do we say as a community is the line, right? And maybe I'm completely off target and off base and where I put my stance on it, but at the same time, maybe we can all come together and really understand and maybe build this community up, because I don't necessarily want number ones to go away. I know that Sweatband also built this series, and I'm not necessarily going to build my whole channel around it, but I don't necessarily want to see people stop grinding for number one. I think it's a really, really fun and exciting thing to see, and I think people in the community get really, really excited for it, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And maybe we can just settle it. Maybe, I mean, we can create a place where everyone can talk about it, and then, I don't know, maybe everyone will win from it and get ahead, because then we settle the line and what it means, right? And maybe everyone can create some competitive integrity of like what is number one. I mean, because it's hard, right? What is number one? What is number one in rank? What is number one in ALGS? What is number one for eliminations, like we mentioned? But I agree with your stance, and I know I'm very new to all this myself, and I've been kind of catching up and understanding it. But I get excited for it. I mean, to be honest, that's why we picked up Daltouche, right? It's why we picked you up. Yeah. It's why we picked up, even when we pick up Guapi for number one Revenant in terms of movement for Soar, right? So it's definitely something that is kind of rooted within Soar Gaming specifically as well, and it's something that should I don't want to see just disappear, because I think a lot of talent comes from it. I think a lot of people are passionate, build their careers, and do some amazing things, right? I guess we'll segue to kind of my last question here.
Yeah.
Is it worth it? Would you do all this over again? Honestly,
100%. 100%. I want to do it again. I most likely will do it next season. I'll grind for number one again. It's worth it. My Twitch numbers have skyrocketed ever since I started doing it, and my YouTube numbers, well, I'm grinding YouTube is creating content for my YouTube channel, so I'm very happy about that. Keeps me on the game, keeps me streaming, keeps me creating content. I have something to grind for. I no longer enjoy ranked. It's the same old rewards, facing the same cheaters. I just personally do not enjoy it. Whereas playing solo on a new legend, I love it. So yeah, I'll do it again, and it's worth it.
And you know where to find Spooky. In the description, check out his Twitch channel, check out his YouTube channel. But otherwise, I want to thank everybody so much for watching. Spooky, man, thank you so much for taking the time and even educating me, just talking to me about the whole situation. We put a lot on the table for the community in the comments. We put a lot on the table for other people to hop into a call and discuss. I would love it even for a video, like I mentioned, to say, what does getting number one on Apex Legends mean? And then bringing a roundtable of people who've hit number one, and then just put it all on the table. Literally, I mean, if that's what we need to do, I'd love to understand and learn more about it.
That sounds good.
Like, that'd be great.
Good.
It'd be so cool to hear everyone's perspective and put those thoughts out there, because it's only going to mean that everyone, because at the end of the day, yes, it's your competition, but we're all part of this community, right? And we all need to band together and understand what we're all shooting for and aiming for together.
Yep, I agree.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much, and we'll see you guys all in the next video.